Hi, Dave Jones here again. We're going to look at some arpeggios in this lesson. Arpeggios are the notes of a chord that are played broken. Some people, if you were ever learning the piano, they call it broken chords. But basically, it's the notes that are in a chord but played when you're practicing an arpeggio. They're played in ascending order that they come in the chord. So we're going to look at a major arpeggio and a minor arpeggio in this lesson. The arpeggios come from the scales. If you're following the theory stuff up on the website, it explains how arpeggios are made, taking, in a major chord's case, the root, the third and the fifth from the relevant major scale, and in minor chord's case, the root, the flattened third and the fifth. If you don't understand all that, check out the lessons on theory. And what I've done, the PDF's up on the website as usual, but what I've done is I've colour-coded the notes. On the major and minor, we've got a black dot that shows the root note, the name of the arpeggio. Is A, it's B, B, etc. And a red dot that shows the third in the major arpeggio and the flattened third in the minor arpeggio, so you know where the third is. And a green dot that shows the fifth, which is the same in each arpeggio. So the major's got the root, the third and the fifth, and the minor arpeggio's got the root, the flattened third and the fifth. And like I say, the dots are so you can kind of start to target these notes as we go along in your soloing and such like. So I'm going to play these arpeggios in A, as usual, and but they're movable arpeggio forms. We're using a closed position arpeggio, so a bit like the scales. If you've been following those lessons, whatever fret you start at will be the name of that arpeggio. So what I'll do is I'll just show you a little close-up of it, and then I'll explain some more. Okay, so here's the A major arpeggio. We'll start with our second finger, much like you would with the scale, the major scale, on the 5th fret of the thick E string. That's the root note. Then we'll go down to the A string, play the 3rd of the arpeggio at the 4th fret on the A string. Then we're going to stay on the A string, we're going to play the 5th note of the arpeggio, the 5th, on the 7th fret of the A string with our 3rd finger. With our little finger, 4th finger, we're going to play the next root note, because it's a 2-octave arpeggio. We're going to play the 7th fret of the D string. With our second finger, we're going to play the 6th fret of the G string, which is the 3rd in the 2nd octave. Then with our first finger, we're going to play the B string at the 5th fret, which is the 5th in the 2nd octave. And then we're going to roll this finger over, and we're going to play the 5th fret of the high E string, which is the A note again the root note, 2 octaves higher than the original note. So that's your major arpeggio. You play it up as slowly as you need to make all the notes accurate, clear and even. Okay, and here we go with the 2-octave minor arpeggio. Again, we're going to start the 5th fret on the E string. That's the A note, the root note. But this time we're going to use our first finger, and the next note we're going to play is the 8th fret on the thick E string, this time with our little finger, and that's the flattened 3rd in the minor arpeggio. So 8th fret on the E string. Then we're going to play the 7th fret on the D string, on the A string. Sorry, 7th fret on the A string with our 3rd finger. That's the 5th, and then the next root is on the 7th fret of the D string. Now you can do one of two things. You can either roll that finger if you want to, or you could use your little finger. It really doesn't matter, whichever way feels comfortable for you. So far we've got root note, 5th fret, flat 3rd, 8th fret, down a string, 7th fret for the 5th, down a string, 7th fret for the root note again, and then first finger on the G string at the 5th fret, that's the flattened 3rd, rolling that finger to the B string at the 5th fret, that's the 5th, and the high E string at the 5th fret, that's the root note again. So and that's your 2-octave minor arpeggio, in this case with the root note A. Okay, yeah, so that's the major arpeggio and the minor arpeggio over 2 octaves in like what's called a root position with a root note on the thick E string. Now, the purpose of learning arpeggios is to kind of learn the names of the notes that are within the chords, and also as you learn arpeggios in different positions, you can start to visualize the notes of the arpeggios, so you can target notes, and also so as you can avoid arpeggio notes if you want to create some tension. So say for example we took the minor arpeggio, and you start to visualize that fingerboard shape on there as your A minor chord. You could play a little phrase. Now I've deliberately targeted a note there that's not in the A minor chord, in the A minor arpeggio. It's in the pentatonic scale and the natural minor scale, the minor pentatonic and the natural minor scale, but it's not in the arpeggio. So it leaves an unfinished sound, not a horrible sound, but slightly an unfinished sound to your phrase. Then you target an arpeggio note. So you've got this sort of question and answer idea, but you've hit a note now that's in the arpeggio, in the minor arpeggio. So it leaves a finished sound to your phrase. So the point of learning these arpeggios is to actually sort of be able to visualize chords and the notes that are in them on the fingerboard, and it can enhance your lead playing. So it's a very useful thing to be able to play arpeggios, and the most basic ones to start off with are major and minor. And like I say, if you don't understand the difference or anything, check out the video lessons and the PDFs on the theory section on the site, and hopefully you'll get an idea of how they're made up. It's very important, and you'll be able to play your arpeggios and understand them. And these are movable shapes, like we've done with the scales if you're following those lessons. So that's an A minor arpeggio just because I started on an A note. If I started there at the 3rd fret and replicate the same fingering pattern, that would be a G minor arpeggio, and so on and so forth. Or for the major shape, you can play it, say, at the 7th fret. That would be a B major arpeggio. But the root notes are up on the site, on the PDF, so hopefully you'll find that useful. So I hope you find the whole thing useful, really, and I'll see you again sometime.